No one was more committed to the renewables myth than Angela Merkel, setting absurd targets for renewable energy in Germany, closing down coal-fired power stations. Now they've got a coalition government over there with the Greens, and they've been forced to reboot coal-fired generators. So, and here we are pretending there isn't a problem.
That's right. The same's happening in Austria and in other European countries. There's been a distinct change in the debate in Europe and in the United States, for that matter, as the reality...
And with Boris Johnson.
Yeah, as the reality hits that you can't just go magically 100% renewables, that you need something else, and you're not going to rely on Russian gas if you've got any sense.
No.
So there is a real resetting of the argument in Europe, which makes it even stranger, I think, that Labor hasn't taken the opportunity here to sort of reset its arguments.
But I mean, Germany's passing legislation too, just like Albo wants to. But that legislation in Germany is to validate the burning of more coal for power generation.
Yeah, and it's supported by the Green Party there, incidentally. There is definitely a feeling that the reality has caught up with the Europeans, but it hasn't quite reached our shores yet. I mean, now they're saying legislate for 40% renewables, but absolutely no indication of how you will firm those renewables. I mean, we can, you know, Alan, we can put wind in here, wind in there, wind upon wind upon wind, but there will always be points in the day and indeed points in the year when the wind's not blowing. What do we do at that point? That's when it gets expensive. I mean, he's correct to point out that renewable energy is very cheap. It can be very, in fact, the price of renewable energy in the middle of the day is often a negative price. They actually can't give the stuff away, literally.
That's it.
It's when we get to the end of the day, when people come home on a cold evening, they want to put on the heaters and so forth.
And there's none.
That's the bit you've got to deal with, and there's no sense that Boeing is in any way tackling with that reality.
No, just come back. This is a very important point. So basically, all this stuff goes into the grid when the grid already has coal-fired power and gas-fired power and so on. So there's a surfeit of energy, say, in the middle of the day, which forces the price down, which actually makes it uncompetitive for coal-fired power. But at night time, as you say, when the sun ain't shining and the wind ain't blowing, we've got a deficit in energy, and they're not prepared to concede this.
No, and one of the things that's driving this is a massive increase in rooftop solar, Alan. It's hit a record investment in rooftop solar in this country for the 5th year running last year.
But they keep saying we need more investment in renewables. I mean, Germany has invested in renewables up to their eyeballs, and yet there they are in all sorts of trouble with energy supply.
Well, the engineers right now are having trouble connecting some of this renewable energy to the grid because they've got to keep the grid stable. They have to turn non-synchronous power into synchronous power. They have to keep the momentum going. Otherwise, the voltage fluctuates and all sorts of things go wrong. They have real technical problems right now with the amount of renewables actually keeping the system running. And the more you put in, the greater those problems become, unless you can put in some way of firming that power, either by hydro, batteries, or gas. And out of those three options, gas is the one that we can get on stream much